Before these high school students see To Kill a Mockingbird on this stage, they're getting a history lesson.
Does anyone know what the Jim Crow laws are?
The Stratford Festival offers a workshop for students to discuss themes in the play.
To Kill a Mockingbird isn't a classic in their hearts and minds the way it is for a lot of teachers. So to ask questions about perspective, about representation, about authenticity.
Harper Lee's 1960 classic explores racism and injustice. A black man falsely accused of raping a white woman, told through the eyes of a young girl whose father defends him. Deja Dixon Green plays Jessie, a character in the book who was added to this production of the play by the director. She has no lines, but says her character still has an impact.
When we have the play and we have the opportunity to bring Black even presence on stage, I think it's important so that those few Black children in the audience or visible minority children in the audience have that connection.
It's one of the many criticisms of Mockingbird, a story about racism that lacks the perspective of the people who are the victims of it.
The story is written by a white person. All the Black people that speak, it's through a white person's perspective of who they are rather than their own voice.
The discussion surrounding Mockingbird has been ongoing for decades. In 1996, Nova Scotia started replacing the text in its classrooms after a review. And this fall, the debate reignited in Canada after an Ontario school board sent a memo instructing its teachers that Mockingbird may not be taught unless it's done through a critical anti-oppression lens. The move, a response to concerns from parents and students about Black representation in their curriculum.
It's a great novel. I have no problem saying it's a great novel.
Author George Eliot Clark questions why this American novel about racism is being taught in Canadian schools.
If we want to teach anti-racism in Canada, we need to go to texts that talk about Canadian experiences and also texts that do not marginalize and alienate Black youth in the classroom.
English teacher Michael Pizzuti has taught Mockingbird for the last 20 years.
It's important to recognize where we came from so that we don't go back.
He hasn't had any complaints, but says providing context to students is crucial.
The language is difficult, sensitive, problematic. I tell the students that the N-word is going to be popping up frequently.
We asked his students what they learned.
It was like Black people were irrelevant and that their thoughts didn't matter.
It really amplified how things were back then, that Black people didn't have a voice.
We've come a long way, but there's always more we can be doing to improve society.
58 years later, and Harper Lee's classic still has its fierce defenders, while others say it's time for new voices and new books to take its place. Tashana Reed, CBC News, Stratford, Ontario.